Patrick takes the snap, drops back, lobs it back right corner. Decker! He's got it! Touchdown! Eric Decker scores! And the Jets have won it in overtime!
This is the Jet Take with Ben Blessington and Kyle Fahey.
Welcome back to another episode of the Jet Take. I'm your host, Ben Blessington. Alongside with me, as always, is Mr. Money, Kyle Fahey. And Kyle, we're doing a very special Friday morning pod, or I guess for me.
Yeah.
Little miscommunication on the time, but we're all here. Kyle,
everybody but you knew it was Eastern Standard Time.
You said noon, and I live on the West Coast, so I was prepared for noon.
Hey, Geno Smith, calm down. We're on the West Coast, all right? You gotta remember the time change, buddy.
I got here, though. Did I not?
After I FaceTimed you 3 times and texted you 10 times.
I don't wake up until it's Christmas break. I'm not going to wake up till like 10. But I'm here.
Holiday.
It's 10 minutes late. We're fine. But Kyle, I mean, I said noon. I meant my time. But anyway, we're not going to spend 2 hours talking about this. We're not going to spend 2 hours talking about this. Let's get into it. Well, first, you didn't tell me. How are you doing, Kyle? What are your thoughts on the current state of the New York Jets?
Oh, that's it. That's all I got.
All right. As always, you can listen to our show on iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Google Play. Just search The Jet Take. And the best place to follow us is Twitter at The Jet Take. I do all the tweeting, so it's really just my account now. But still follow us.
Nobody knows it's you.
Hey, read the bio, boy. 1.1 thousand followers. Go ahead and check it out.
Yeah. You guys are going to hear me typing. Sorry, it's bad podcasting. But
it just says tweets by Ben because, that means I didn't have to sign it.
Nobody really looks at the bio though.
It's a good point. But when was the last time you tweeted from that account, Kyle? The summer. So I just put tweets by Ben. If you ever want to start tweeting for that again, then we can change it.
Does you deleting the tweets I sent out count? Because I've definitely tweeted since.
Oh, you tweeted. You're right. You tweeted one thing, but it was about the Yankees. So yes, I did delete it.
No, that's not true.
Yes, you tweeted one thing about the. What are we doing, Kyle? Let's talk about the Jets. We'll do this later.
I will own up to that. I accidentally did retweet a Yankees fan on the Jets
account.
I thought it was on my account.
All right, let's do it. First, let's recap Jets New Orleans. I mean, it's Friday and that game happened Sunday, so we don't have to spend too much time on it. We'll more look towards the future. But just for the sake of time,
we should have been since week 1. Just saying.
For the sake of time, we'll come back to talking a little bit about New Orleans and Bryce Petty. We're going to first talk about Todd Bowles because we have a very special guest on the line. Kyle, I'll let you introduce him since you awkwardly spent the first 20 minutes of this with him since I overslept. So Kyle, I'll give you the mic.
Yeah, we have a special guest on today, TOJ, I guess coworker. I guess we're all coworkers. We have Dan at Craymon Green, the legend from Twitter. Always has great content on TOJ. Dan, what's going on, man?
What's going on, Kyle? I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on, guys.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. We really enjoy your tweet summaries. If our listeners have never checked it out, it's funny and it's Jets, and after a good loss, it's fun to go through those. Well, yeah, I want to ask you. I mean, how do you just put those together? I mean, that's got to take a lot of work of just searching through Twitter. I do want to say though, the Jet Take account was featured for the first time this past week, criticizing John Morton's play calling, but I'm all for it.
Yeah, man. I got to give a shout out to TweetDeck. TweetDeck is awesome, man. That's how I come get everything put together. It's kind of difficult sometimes with really bad games. Like the Bucks game was the worst. Mostly because everyone just stopped tweeting because they're like, this game sucks. I don't want to watch this anymore. Yeah. So those games are usually really hard to get content for, but usually the games where there's a huge roller coaster ride of crazy things happening, those are the best because people just go nuts.
Yeah, no, for sure. But we really enjoy it. We'll make sure we always try to retweet those because I really like it. But Dan, let's talk a little bit about what you came here to talk about, which is Todd Bowles. I guess I'll just give you the open mic. I know you wrote an article this past week on Turn on the Jets, evaluating his spot as the head coach, and he's a hot button issue for the Jets. I mean, it's very controversial, polarizing. Some people think he should stay. The players like him. Other people think he's a mediocre head coach that needs to go. I want to know, I mean, for those who haven't read the article, what is your stance? What's your take on Todd Bowles? And then we can get this conversation cooking.
Right, yeah. So I remember I tweeted out something like 3 weeks ago or so, and it was just like I'm going through these notes I'm compiling for early evals, and it was like just some dude crying on the floor. I think it's not just like pure sadness or like anger or frustration and fire everybody, I have to do this all again. I think it was that it's not as simple as I wish it was, and that's really a lot of or the entirety of what the Bulls article was about. The McKagan article is really straightforward because evaluating a GM is much easier than evaluating a head coach. And I say that because the proof is often in the development of the players and the draft selections and free agent signings. But evaluating a head coach is a little bit tricky because not all head coaches have the same objectives. So I kind of try to tease that out a little bit and kind of explain why if they make this decision now, it's dangerous because of the candidates that are available, because of things like that. If they're not 100% sure that the next candidate is going to be better than what they thought they had with Todd Bowles when this started, then we might be doing this again in 2 years, and, you know, that's like cyclical hell. So basically, that's what the article is about. They should really take their time in making the decision. I think personally, I think he's obviously not like a superstar head coach or anything like that. I think he has flaws that have stayed since his first year that are really scary. He's not the best game manager, and he's kind of slow to change. He's a little stubborn, but I think you can do a lot worse. And I think right now they don't need a game manager as much as they need somebody that is not going to get in the way of players getting better. And I kind of talked about player development and stuff like that in the article as well. I think that if they believe he's not getting in the way and they believe that he is going to allow players to create a foundation, then they can evaluate next year and kind of see things through. And if it's going poorly, then you make the decision. And if it's kind of going okay and you can tease out other candidates and try to grab somebody, maybe a really good college head coach from the college ranks and bring them up to the pro level, then you can investigate doing that. But my fear is that they haven't done any investigation because of the tricky situation with Chris Johnson and Woody Johnson. So my main thing is that I just don't want them to make a rash decision that will land us back in the same place in 2 years.
Yeah, no, I think, I'm torn on Bulls because, there's the one thing where it's like, you can't keep having your head coach turnover. It's hard to win with a first-year head coach, even though I guess that is the only time Bulls had success. But, the players are coming out and saying they like him. But I guess they did the same thing for Rex. I mean, after 2013, when Rex came back, they acted like they won the Super Bowl in the locker room.
Yeah.
So maybe the player's opinion isn't the most thing. That's, most important thing. There are some other things that I like, and, I don't like using the mediocre bar because, especially since this is right where I thought the Jets would be, which is unfortunate because some people would either want just playoffs or 2-14. But I didn't think the 1-15, 2-14 bar was where this team was going to perform. But that's the bar that Todd Bowles is being held to. Once the Jets were 3-2, beating Cleveland, Miami, and Jacksonville, and that Jacksonville win is actually more impressive now. But at the time, they were still like kind of unproven. I mean, people were acting like Todd Bowles. I mean, Coach of the Year articles were being written for Todd Bowles.
Right.
Then I worry about because it's like, can you even see the Jets winning a Super Bowl with Todd Bowles? I mean, I don't really. But again, if you would ask me that in 2015 when he was 10-6, I might have said yes. The clock management issues are tough. It is a tough situation, and I think you're right. I think the one thing, and I'll ask this to you, is, I mean, how likely, and you said the Jets shouldn't do anything rash, but how likely is it that you could see, because we heard all about the power structure that the Jets have, that it's not Bulls reports to Mac reports to Johnson. They both report to Johnson. But how likely could you see that the Jets could do a scenario where, I think they take your advice, they don't do anything rash, and Black Monday happens, and then they wait and see if anybody wiggles free. The person that's been in the rumor mill has been Bill O'Brien. If Bill O'Brien were to become available, and this is all, hypothetical situations, but if he's to become available, we know Mike Maccagnan has a relationship with him. He likes him. He also has a relationship with Christian Hackenberg. Not that Hackenberg's the future, but it does help if he's going to be the backup. There's all these different connections, and at the end of the day, he's a better coach than Todd Bowles is at this point. Do you think you could see the Jets doing something like that where they don't close the door on
Are we sure about that? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Are we sure that Bill O'Brien's better than Todd Bowles? Obviously not a Todd Bowles guy. Bill O'Brien started Tom Savage over Deshaun Watson this year.
Yeah, but a lot of coaches do that with the rookies, put them on the bench for a few games and then put them in. I mean, that's just pretty standard. I'm not gonna dog him over that. Is basically what I'm saying. I think Bill O'Brien has his flaws, but I mean, Kyle, I'm not against Bowles. I think he'll be back, and I think he should be back. I'm just saying, I'm gonna ask Dan this. Do you think the Jets could do a situation where if a guy like Bill O'Brien or whoever knows, maybe they like somebody else, wiggles free? Do you think they could go after him?
Okay, so I've been thinking a lot about the Bill O'Brien thing. He's become a Jets fan favorite, I think, in the last couple of days. He is. I would say I agree with you that he's a better head coach than Todd Bowles, but I think a lot of that is because he's been a head coach for much longer than Todd Bowles. And I think his experiences, especially at Penn State and things like that, have prepared him to deal with adversity a lot better. But I think that he's had a much better roster in Houston, and I think that may have built him up a little bit more than he ought to have been in the eyes of a lot of fans. I think that the Texans' drafts have been ridiculous. The amount of talent they've been able to stock on defense is otherworldly. But I think he's a pretty decent head coach. What I would be afraid of is I want to see him in Houston longer. Unfortunately, it sucks that that's not going to happen because I want to see what he can do with somebody like Deshaun Watson and how far that would go, because basically with how good Deshaun Watson was playing, if he's not elevating that team as a head coach with somebody like Deshaun Watson in place after all these years of not being good because you don't have a franchise quarterback and that being the built-in excuse, then, okay, now maybe this guy's not that great of a head coach. But if we don't get to see that, if he does get fired after this year and shakes free and becomes an available coaching candidate, then you're not really sure. But I think that he's a decent head coach. I'm just not sure if that's the guy that I would kind of wreck everything for. What I do appreciate is that I'm pretty sure if he did become free and the Jets gave him a call, he would probably say, I want complete control. Because he's learned from his past mistakes and not getting that with Houston. And he would say, I want complete control and I want a quarterback now.
Yeah, for sure. And that would also mean the end of Bryce Petty because, if maybe not, but I think if O'Brien's going to choose his young backup quarterback, then I think he'd probably just go with the guy he has experience with. And that kind of brings us we can come back to Bulls. I know we have limited time with you. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the quarterbacks. I know that's not what you came on for, but I think you're a Jets fan. I think it's always interesting to hear about it. What do you think the Jets' plan is? Do they have no plan going into 2018? Because it felt like, look, I guess I'll tie this back into Bulls. When we were heading into the season, and I'll give Bulls props because I was against this move, and maybe this is something that, as you said, it's hard to evaluate head coaches. Maybe this is something you can give to him. Is that against literally everybody, including myself and including Kyle for a while, and I think Kyle changed his tune, he started Josh McCown. And started Josh McCown all the way into December, which was every Jets fan's worst nightmare. But because of that, guys like Robbie Anderson developed. He developed a connection with Curse and ASJ. People got better around him. So that's something that I guess you can put in Bowles' favor because as we've seen with Bryce Petty the past 2 weeks, I don't know if that would have happened. Robbie Anderson has 2 catches. Anyways, back to what I was saying, though. So we all thought they were going to play Petty for a bit and then Hackenberg for a bit. We'd officially find out, okay, no talent on this roster. And that's probably true even without seeing them. What do you think they're going to do? Because they have a lot of cap space. We're assuming Bowles is coming back. I think McCown is a strong candidate to come back unless he wants to coach, but I would hope just as the backup. Where the Jets are picking right now, they're at 10, but if they lose the next 2 games and get some help, they could probably get up to 4. So I'll say with the Niners winning and stuff, they'll probably end up around 6, maybe 6 or 7, which is fine. That's not horrible. You can still trade up from that and not sell your whole franchise. If the Jets are picking, let's just say 6, because that's been their lucky number the past few years. What is the plan? Because you have to assume Rosen's gone. I don't know if Darnold's coming out, but if he does, Darnold's gone, and then you're looking at Mayfield, Jackson.
No,
you
Mayfield.
could trade. You could trade up. You could trade up for Rosen or Darnold, or you could sign a guy like Cousins, Keenum if he becomes available. Any of those free agent quarterbacks. I mean, if you were the GM, what would you do? And then also on the flip side of that, what do you think Mike McTagnan will do?
Right. So I think it's difficult because I think they will try to go after Kirk Cousins, but I think that the price range is going to be a little bit problematic, not because they don't have enough money, but because they have to consider how much they're giving Kirk Cousins. He's obviously a good quarterback. There's no doubt about that. He's a good quarterback. The numbers don't lie, but he doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. And that could be problematic on a team that doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. So usually if you're going to bring in a guy from free agency, especially a quarterback, and say, this is our guy, this guy's going to lead this team, this guy's going to be our future, you want somebody that, has good experience in this league, especially in high-pressure situations. And I don't think Kirk Cousins has that to the tune of, however $1 million he's going to be getting a year. So I think they're going to have issues with that. I think there are going to be other teams that'll say, yeah, I don't care about your lack of playoff experience. You're going to be here. We're going to give you all the dollars to be our starting quarterback. And I think a team like Jacksonville or something like that would be probably even more appealing, despite the kind of crappy market that they're in. No offense, Jaguars fans. I love you so much, but
hey, I will attest that Jacksonville is the worst big city in the United States. Ooh. And it's not even close. Jacksonville is a godforsaken city.
But yeah, I think that team with that defense and what they're doing with Blake Bortles, I think, is a very appealing opportunity for Kirk Cousins, and I wouldn't blame him if he said, hey, I know that you guys, can offer more money than the Jets and continue to price them up until they give him a good contract, because that's the better situation. And if it is his choice, if Washington does not franchise tag him, which some people think is still a possibility, which is insane with the amount of money they'd be giving him, then I think honestly the Jets aren't the best option. So yeah, with that in mind, I think beyond that in the draft, I am not sold that they would take a quarterback with their first pick. I think, especially if Rosen and Darnold are gone, I don't think he'll trade up, especially with all the crap he got, the last 2 years for not trading down and not getting more picks. I think he started trading down last year, and I think he liked what happened. We obviously are not really sure about the picks yet, especially the 2 wide receivers, Ardarius Stewart and Chad Hansen, because they haven't gotten playing time. But I think he liked having more picks and kind of getting the same, I guess for him, the same value that he thought he would have got at the spot he was in. So I think that he's going to prefer to go the Texans route and to take a best player available, again, like they tend to do, because, hey, it kind of worked out for them. It kind of worked out for Jacksonville. It kind of worked out for other teams that did that. And I think that they can try to get 3 solid starters in the draft, and not kind of trade everything away for a quarterback. That being said, obviously it's going to not go well with Jets fans if they do something like that, of course. But I think it's a high possibility if the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft are gone. I'm not sure he's going to be the one to take a chance on somebody like Baker Mayfield. I think if we're at the bottom of the first round or near the bottom of the first round, and he can use one of the 2 seconds that they have to trade back in, he might try to do that. But history has told us that he's tried to do that in the past as well. But he's been a little bit cheap with what he's offering. So I'm not. I think my expectations are tempered on what they will do at quarterback. I think they will definitely try to sign Kirk Cousins and try to sign Tyrod Taylor or any of the veterans available. Probably a little bit harder than they would try to trade up. So I think really they'll just try to see if a good situation falls towards them, kind of like it did with the Texans and Deshaun Watson. And I think if it's an easy trade, they'll go for it. But I'm not sure if they'll do the mortgage trade.
Yeah, and I think that's frustrating to Jets fans. Well, Dan, good stuff. Thank you for coming on, man. Really quickly, just shout out your social media, where people can find you and read your stuff.
Yeah, so at Craymon Green, yeah, you can follow me there. I was thinking about changing my handle a couple of weeks ago, but I guess I'm not going to do that anymore.
I'm a big fan of the handle, but go ahead, change it, Dan.
No, I'll keep it. You guys won me over. But yeah, follow me on Twitter. I'm much less depressing on Twitter. I'm sorry, this was very depressing. But
we're gonna keep our mediocre. Yeah, we're gonna keep our mediocre coach and trade down in the draft. I think that everybody will just not be a Jets fan after that.
Yeah, I didn't have any good news today. I'm so sorry.
No, that's exactly what's going to happen. As a Jets fan for maybe a decade now, that's literally exactly what's going to happen. But we appreciate the honesty on it.
It's going on my gravestone. I'm much less depressing on Twitter is like the quote of my life right there.
Listen, Dan, it's been fun. Thank you so much for calling in. We really enjoyed having you on, and we hope to hear from you in the future.
Thanks, guys.
All right, again, that was at Craymon Green, just like Draymond.
I'm going to have to make a graphic for that. Like, I'm much less depressing on Twitter. I'm on it right now.
It's like Draymond Green with a C, but yeah, he's right. I fear that's what's going to happen. The Jets are going to keep their mediocre coach, and they're going to trade down in the draft and pass on Baker Mayfield and whoever else.
And we're going to re-sign Josh McCown, and even if we do
McCown will be back, and then they'll sign. I think they'll sign somebody else. They'll draft somebody else. They'll draft like
Josh Allen.
No, not Josh Allen. What's the guy? Why can't I remember his name? Luke Falk, the kid from Washington State. They'll draft somebody like that in the third, and then you'll be looking at a Hackenberg, Petty, Falk, McCown depth chart heading into preseason. Petty or Hack will get cut. That's what will happen. And Bulls will be the coach. And I might end up just switching teams. I'm kidding. I'll always be a Jets fan, even though it'll be painful.
I'm a bandwagon Patriots fan for the rest of the year. So.
Are you kidding me?
Why wouldn't I?
I have no respect for you anymore. You're a bandwagon Patriots fan. When the Jets are out of it, all I enjoy is when the Patriots lose. I literally just cheer for every team against the Patriots. I hate the Patriots. I respect that they have the greatest head coach of all time and the greatest quarterback of all time. Mm-hmm. But I hate them. I hate their logo. I hate their uniforms. I hate their owner. I hate that head coach. I hate that quarterback. And I absolutely I despise the Patriots. They've been cheaters in the past. They've beaten the Jets in the past. So
is every team in the NFL, Ben.
You're right. You're right. But if the Patriots are in our division, Kyle, they win it every year. They've cheaters. They're schmucks. They've beaten us. I don't like them. No, Kyle. They're our number one rivals. In no world, I would rather be a Browns fan over the Patriots. I'd rather be give me any other horrible team. I would cheer for them over the Patriots any day.
That's just the dumbest thing I've heard. You'd rather be a Browns fan than a Patriots fan? You don't want to be a winner?
Hey, we're coming. 2035, baby. Anyways, let's go bring on our next guest. We got Scott Mason from Play Like a Jet, the honorary third host of this show, the mediator between us, and runs his own show. As I just said, Play Like a Jet, a great show. But we'll talk about that at the end. Let's bring on Scott, and we'll try to liven up the place. If I can figure out how to unmute him. There it is. Scott, how you doing, man?
What's up, boys? I think you just described all of our worst nightmares, by the way. Bowl stays, they trade down, they get Mason Rudolph or Luke Falk or somebody like that, and we look forward to the Josh McCown was still the best quarterback on the team by far reports coming out next summer in training camp.
Yeah, that's gonna be right. Are you on a jog?
Right now, I'm walking outside.
Oh, I see. Okay. I respect it.
Why, is the wind especially bad or something?
It's not that bad. I can just hear some cardio going on in the background. I was wondering what it was. Scott, we were just talking, and yes, you heard.
No, yeah, I'm not going to say a thing. There's some cardio going on in the background.
Scott, let's talk a little bit about basically. We'll switch gears here a bit and talk about Petty, since this was the first game we got to see him in full action. What were your thoughts on Bryce Petty and his performance this weekend?
He was terrible. I mean, what else can you really say? His footwork was bad. If you really want to see frame by frame how bad he was, you can go and check out Joe Blewett over at Jet Nation's weekly film breakdowns. But if you watch the game, you know what you saw. This is the reason why many of us thought that he wasn't going to be much of an NFL quarterback, even coming out of Baylor. I had a little bit of hope that perhaps because he played better in the preseason that maybe he could develop into a decent backup. I mean, listen, he's still got 2 weeks to prove me wrong, but it's not looking good already. I don't know, man. What else can you really say? I would be surprised at this rate if he's even on the roster if he doesn't do something in the next 2 weeks as far as next year goes. And Hackenberg is even worse because for as bad as Petty played, there's not even an iota of talk of Hackenberg coming in, and now you're hearing that he's sharing scout team reps with some guy named Joel Staves that I never even heard of. Who is that guy?
Quarterback for Wisconsin.
Wisconsin quarterback, possibly the reason Ohio State will always be the Big Ten, domination. He is so bad and so pathetic, I'm pretty sure Ben and I could, split reps with him. And that should really, I'm stretching
We
out.
drafted Kyle as our quarterback, is basically what
They took me in the compensatory draft instead. I would get more reps than Joel Staubing. Yeah, I forgot the name of it, honestly. That Hackenberg. How bad Christian Hackenberg is, and that the fact that he isn't even getting the opportunity to start is scary, ladies and gentlemen. We wasted a second-round pick. We just took that second-round pick. You just basically took a $50 bill, say, you know what? Crumple it up, shoot it into a fire, because that's what happened.
50. I mean, a second-round pick's pretty expensive, and a high one too. I mean, that's a very pricey thing they just blew on. So let's say that's like throwing away $5K. Just that. I mean,
nope.
The Jets could have had who were the best? They had Cody Whitehair, the guard, was available. Pretty much, I mean, any player was available that went in the mid rounds. Passed up on a lot of talent, and it really hurt him. And
could have had Dak Prescott too, by the way. Don't want to.
Well, I mean, that was the one I thought about it, but it's like, I mean, he went in the fourth round. I don't want to.
Even Brett Hundley too,
right,
really.
Right. If the Jets had passed, if the Jets had
actually,
passed,
Hundley would have been over Petty, but still, same idea. They could have had Brett Hundley.
But if the Jets had passed on Hackenberg and taken Whitehair, and then I think we took Jenkins in the third.
We have Scott Mitchell for that.
And then let's say, hey, we haven't addressed that quarterback position sitting in the fourth round. Hey, let's take this Prescott kid. I mean, you never know what would have happened if the Jets hadn't drafted Hackenberg. But it's depressing.
You know what's the most frustrating about it, though, guys, is that from what you hear, nobody else had Hackenberg anywhere close to the second round. And, look, I'm not against reaching for a QB necessarily. Here's an example, or taking a guy that could be a controversial pick. So Geno Smith is a perfect example. Geno Smith is a guy that dropped in the draft. There were people that thought he could go as high as 3, and he went all the way down to the second round. So at that point, if you like Geno Smith and you're sitting there going, well, here's a guy we might have thought about at 13, and instead we picked Sheldon Richardson, and now he's available at 39, all right, go ahead, take your shot and see what you got there. But when it's a guy that you're hearing, yeah, exactly. But when it's a guy that you keep hearing nobody would touch anywhere near the second round, man, that makes it, like you said, it's like they took a second-round pick and lit it on fire.
I cried when we picked him.
No, you didn't. We have the episode.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Go get the episode, Ben. Ben, you can't import the audio from here. You know that, right?
I can play it from my phone.
Oh, you
fresh
waste
audio
storage space on your phone?
Okay.
Wow, what a loser.
I don't even know what you just said. Well, Scott, while I find this clip of Kyle and Kyle and I talking about Hackenberg, I do want to add the other Manish Mehta article that came out, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it, was that Sheldon Richardson and the Jets are both interested in reuniting this offseason.
I'm so ready for those.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all,
Scott and then Kyle, okay?
Yeah. Anybody that knows me knows I have zero respect for Manish Mehta's work. I don't know him personally, so for all I know, he's a nice guy. I have no idea. But as far as him professionally, I have zero respect because all he does is drive narratives that suit his agenda, and he uses anonymous sources. Who knows how many of those quote-unquote anonymous sources even exist? It's funny how he'll use things that, like, it's impossible to verify. Like, for instance, a rival scout says that the Jets love Mitch Trubisky. Like, that could be anybody, and how could you possibly track that down? So I have no respect for him at all. And this report seems bogus to me. Everybody knows that Manish was fairly tight with Sheldon and his reps and all that. So this just seems to me like Sheldon using Manish to try and drive his free agent value up. I'm sure that Sheldon would be happy to come back to the Jets if they would pay him. But I also don't think that it makes any sense whatsoever for the Jets to blow a bunch of their free agent money on this guy when, A, he didn't fit well when he was here with Todd Bowles in the first place, and we're assuming Bowles is coming back. B, he's a guy that doesn't play a premium position that they really need. They need to be spending their money to shore up the O-line, to get a quarterback, to get some playmakers on both sides of the ball. Somebody that's an outside rusher that can really wreak havoc on the quarterback. He doesn't fit the bill for any of that. And 3, the guy was a major pain in the ass constantly when he was here the first time. So I just don't see any reason why this makes sense, and I don't trust it, especially considering who's the one reporting it.
Scott, great takes. I listened to them. And Kyle, we're going to get to your takes on that just in a second. I really want to just stop this for a second because I heard Kyle give a tremendous take about 40 minutes before Christian Hackenberg was drafted. I don't know how good this audio will sound, but and also you can note how high his voice sounds. So Kyle, props to you. Puberty hit. Let's just listen to this.
Wait, this could be bad for me.
Yeah, hold on. Let's just listen.
Uh-oh.
Like, would you go second round, third round? Like, what's your preference?
Kyle, you go first.
I would, if Connor Cook's sitting there for us, I'm strongly considering it.
Oh, so I guess Kyle was a Connor Cook stan, but anyway, I'm gonna go find the Christian Hackenberg.
Connor Cook went in the second round, so.
And how's he panning out? You go on to just
he plays backup to a Pro Bowl quarterback.
You want to go? Keep going. You keep praising him, and I'm like, I would not take Connor Cook in the second round. And you're like, I think he has a lot of intangibles, whatever. Anyways, go ahead.
He was a fairly solid prospect.
Okay, Kyle. Can't even admit when he's wrong.
He is a backup to a quarterback who was in the Pro Bowl last year. I mean,
and Christian Hackenberg is a backup to a guy who's kind of almost close to a Pro Bowl.
I think he's like 10th alternate or something, right?
Yeah, it sounds like 10th alternate. By that logic, that means Hackenberg is, maybe 50th alternate. So you never know, Kyle. I want to get sure.
He's not the 50th alternate in the NFL.
Kyle, Brian Hoyer is Tom Brady's backup, and that does not mean Brian Hoyer is a top quarterback. So that was the worst logic.
Brian Hoyer could start for a lot of teams.
He has started for a lot of teams. Look how it panned out. Did you see him with the Texans that season? They went to the playoffs. Oh my God, he was horrible. Anyways,
hey, I heard playoffs.
Kyle, give your take on this whole Sheldon Richardson situation while I find our reactions to Christian Hackenberg.
I'm so ready for Sheldon to come back and just wreck this locker room all over again. Pay him a lot of money. We won't be able to sign a quarterback like Kirk Cousins or Tyrod because we'll blow all of our cap on it. But we will steal a second-round pick and Jermaine Kearse from the Seahawks, and that's always a win. I'm so ready for this. Give it to me.
Oh, boy. I don't know, Kyle. I know it would be funny.
Complete sarcasm, by the way. Obviously, I do not want him back.
Yeah, no, but there is some comedic value to Sheldon coming back and basically renting him out for a season to the Seahawks, I guess. Here's my thing, and we'll talk about quarterback later, I'm sure, but if they come out of this with anything other than paying Kirk Cousins or getting a top-flight quarterback in this draft, I don't even want to think about what it's going to be like for the executives and the coaches and all that, because the fan base is going to go insane. Like, absolutely insane. And I like Tyrod Taylor, but if you sign him, it better be in conjunction with drafting Lamar Jackson or Baker Mayfield, because I just don't think that Tyrod Taylor in and of himself is going to be enough to get this fan base to not show up with pitchforks.
I disagree. I'll show up with a bouquet of flowers if we sign Tyrod Taylor, I'll tell you that.
Might be worth it just to see Kyle have to go to the florist and order some flowers.
He's never had to do that in his life, believe me. I wanted to talk. I'll give my take on the Sheldon thing. Kyle, I know I just roasted you, but I'm going to compliment you. You do say, albeit as a joke, you're like, we're all laughing about the Hackenberg thing.
How about you play it? Because you say, albeit as a joke. I want to hear the context.
It's hard to hear because I'm talking as well. No, I'll play it for you. I'll play it for you. Hold on, let me find it. You basically say, and with that I cry, and then you're like, I never said you did. You just didn't actually cry. Hold on.
Oh my God.
Let me find it.
You know damn well I was crying.
All right, fine. Ready? This is like 10 seconds before it happens, so just feel free to listen in. This is the Jet Take Inception. We're listening to Jet Takes on the Jet Take. Okay, but Kyle, just you are right. So this is just proving you're right. I mean, I came out and said you were right.
Did you peek on Twitter? I'm tempted to go look at Twitter.
Hold on.
Let's see.
Chris
Hackenberg. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Whoa.
And with that I cry.
There it is.
Oh my.
So then we just kind of freaked out for 10 minutes. Anyways, so yeah, Kyle, you're right. I'll give you props. Back to the Sheldon Richardson thing. I just wanted to say, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to pass on talent like that, but it's like, okay, how much money is he going to command? Only Bowles and I guess the players in the locker room know how much of an impact he had. Was he a real locker room problem? And he was there through the entire offseason. So, I mean, guys this year would know that as well, really besides Jermaine Kearse. So it's like, if he's available for the right price, let's say he wants to sign a prove-it deal, not that much money, I would consider it, especially since they're cutting Mo, so they're gonna have enough money to cover his deal. But I'd be hesitant. If I were Todd Bowles and I went and talked to my team leaders, I went and talked to Leo, I went and talked to I'm trying to think of guys who were there last year. I mean, I would say DeMario Davis, but he wasn't really there during last year. So I would go and talk to guys who were there last year and first-hand experience. I mean, Buster Screen, I don't know. Guys, Steve McClendon, people who were there and knew Sheldon and knew what type of impact. By the way,
Buster Screen, has...
Oh, we're going to talk about... He was my next topic.
Trade value.
Yeah. Anyways. But I would go and talk to them. I would talk to my team leaders and see what they thought about bringing him in. And
like Muhammad Wilkerson?
Look, this guy was very controversial in the locker room. He I don't know. It just seems the locker room has gotten better since he's left. And I don't know if that's just a coincidence. But I will say the locker room looked good in the offseason when he was there. So who knows? Sheldon is a bit of a...
Do you not recall him, I have 15 reasons why? I mean, that was like a thing for a week.
Yeah, I know, but he wasn't... It wasn't like the Jets had a systemic issue where they were locker room infighting, but that was last year. If Bowles knows that Sheldon was a big part of that, not just that Marshall was getting pissed at him and the Fitzpatrick and Geno thing and all that stuff, if Bowles knows that Sheldon is a locker room troublemaker, then don't bring him in. Why would you risk it? Use a draft pick, sign another guy. I think Coney Ealy's been performing well enough. He has a ton of bad balls. He's had a pretty good impact on the game. Maybe you just stick with Coney Ealy. Anyways, we were going to talk about Buster Scream as my next topic, and I will say, I think I'm cursed or something. Maybe the Jet Take handle.
Oh, really?
Let me just go back and say this. I said about Buster Screen, I think a few months ago, how much I think he's a terrible player. That next week he goes off and has a terrific performance. He has some up and down. But this past month, Buster Screen has been the top corner on this team. which maybe isn't a high achievement, but he's been very good in the slot. And I know Kyle Smith, friend of the show, was very against him playing in the spot, and so was Kyle Fahey, but he's performing well there. You know, he hasn't had too many penalties.
Yeah, I think
he's got to work on his catching. He's got to work on his catching because he's a few times where he could have had an interception, but he's been pretty good this past month. Anyways, so there's that. Then I said about Leonard Williams, and I went on and defended this take because it was a hot button issue, and this is what I wanted to talk about next.
That was so great when he intercepted.
No,
oh
my God, Kyle, don't. Okay, hold on. I said about Leonard Williams that I'm a little disappointed in his performance this year. Kyle, hold on. And I still am. I mean, that's not – I'll get into it. I'm not saying that I think that Leonard Williams is a bad player by any means. And we've talked about it in the show. I've not changed my stance from what I've said on the show. I don't think he's bad. I still think he has the potential to be great. My only thing is how much better is he from last year? Because a guy who's supposed to be a once-in-a-generation talent has 2 sacks. And I know you're like, we did so much more than sacks. And I agree. But to be a once-in-a-generational talent, and in today's NFL to have a true impact on the game.
Was there somebody that argued that? I mean, I didn't think anyone argued he was a once-in-a-generation talent.
Yes, there were people saying he's the next Reggie White, the next Richard Seymour.
What?
Who said that?
No, Richard
people
Seymour,
on draft
yeah.
Twitter. I mean,
Richard
people writing
Seymour's
articles.
Player.
Scott or Kyle, go and look at articles when Leonard Williams was drafted and just look at that.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying those people are out of their damn minds.
Anyway,
there are also people who believe Lamar Jackson's a wide receiver. So take everything into consideration, Ben.
You're right. I'm just saying, for a guy I love him as a Jets fan.
Up on you. It's always amazing.
I'm gonna mute him. He's talking too much. And he's gonna just unmute himself. Give him like 3 seconds. But as a guy who there he's back. Okay. As a guy who is supposed to be the face of the franchise, I know he's getting double teamed. I know he has no other help. I'm not blind. I watch the games. I'm just saying, and I do believe when the Jets bring in an edge, hopefully for the love of God, that he'll have a lot more impact on the game. I'm just saying, for a guy we want to be great, that we expect to be great, he's not splitting double teams. And that's okay, and maybe he's just a good player, because right now he's a good player. He's going to get you 3 or 4 sacks a year. He's good in the run game, but that's about it. That's what we're getting from him. And I believe he's very good in the run game, so is Damon Harrison, and he's getting 3 or 4 sacks. That's good. That's an interior lineman. That's a very good year. I'm just saying, when you draft a guy at number 6, especially ahead of a guy like Vic Beasley who's tearing it up, well, who would you rather have, a guy who's getting 15 sacks a game or 2 sacks a game?
Wow, 15 sacks a game? That's Lawrence Taylor.
I mean 15 sacks a year.
Talk about cocaine.
Yeah, I know, he's just insane. Yeah, he's doing the coke. But I think that, I don't know.
Just the way he said the coke.
Yeah, I know. But a ball that was where Drew Brees' arm was hit and Leonard Williams couldn't split the double team, so backed up and caught it. Although a pretty good play and displays his athleticism and his potential is not going to change. Look, last year. I know he's not having a terrific year.
Yeah, that was the Super Bowl year where that whole team played like they were on cocaine.
Kyle, it was just a simple analogy I could pull from pretty much a lot of people on that draft. You can pull from other 6 overall picks. I'm not saying that Leonard Williams is a bust. I'm not saying that Leonard Williams can't be a Pro Bowler year in and year out. I'm just saying from this year and looking at last year, did he get any better? No. He's plateaued. And I'm not saying that next year he can't go up. And I understand a lot of different things going against him. He has no help on the defensive line. Mahan Wilkerson's loafing around. He has no edge rushers. I understand that. I understand he's getting a few quarterback hurries and quarterback hits and stuff. And, he was never really a sack master. But it's still, I mean, I think last year he had a pretty solid amount of sacks. So, anyways, that was just my point. I'm a little disappointed in his performance this year. I was hoping to see him just improve a little bit, learn how to split the double teams like great ones do. That's all I was saying. I don't think he's not going to be good or that he can't improve. I'm just saying from last year to this year, he hasn't improved that much. I'm hoping with the addition of an edge rusher and Mahan Wilkerson off this team, we see him continue where he left off last year. That's all I was saying. But I got a lot of hate for that, and of course, 15 minutes later, he intercepts the ball, and I'm just wrong about everything now. Then, as a joke, I was like, Jamal Adams sucks too? And then Jamal was forced to fumble like 30 minutes later. So, and then it didn't work, but I was like, Bryce Petty's horrible. And then he let a touchdown drive. I don't know. I think I'm just going to insult everybody. I was like, Bryce Petty's horrible, and then he let a touchdown drive, Kyle. So I think I don't know. I think I might be.
Can we talk about like Christian Hackenberg next then? I mean, Christian Hackenberg is like fat. I think that's gone under the radar. He's pretty fat.
So is Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, Tom Brady is a dad bod too. I mean, it's not really.
What? Tom Brady does not have a dad bod.
Yeah, he does. Look at Tom Brady shirtless.
Greatly.
With
boy.
Pleasure.
Yeah. I mean, Tom Brady is like in shape now.
He might be now with his new diet, but no, for his prime of his career, which, I mean, maybe is now. But
which is still today.
Look up Tom Brady shirtless.
I am, and I'm sending it to the group chat. So let's just add a context. Let's see how people respond to this.
He's a dad bod. I mean, but he's a very good quarterback.
Just very good, huh?
Yeah. I mean, Jimmy G's got that six-pack going. What my point
Jimmy
is, it means
G
nothing.
The hottest
it means
ever.
Yeah, his nickname's Jimmy GQ. I think there's
that should be a T-shirt.
But my point to cut that, Kyle, is it's not really a big deal. Brady Quinn had an 8-pack, and he's horrible. And Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady are not. I guess Tom Brady looks a little better now, but Ben Roethlisberger's, you could characterize him as fat, and he's a good quarterback.
Yeah, he's very fat.
Scott, I wanted to get your take on Leonard Williams.
Like worst years.
What, Kyle? Ben Roethlisberger having his worst years?
These past couple of years have not been great for Ben Roethlisberger compared to like when he was in his 20s.
I think Kyle just says things with no evidence to back it up. I mean,
obviously the emergence of Antonio Brown has helped a little bit.
Yeah.
They won Super Bowls in his 20s.
Oh, yes, you're right. You're right.
Super Bowls in his 20s.
Okay. All right, Kyle. All right. Anyways, Scott, I wanted to get your take on the whole Leonard Williams thing I was saying. Wait, hold on, Kyle. I mean, he's on last year threw 29 touchdowns. The year before that, 21, but he was injured. 32, 28, 26. This year he has 26 with 2 games to go. In his 20s, I mean, 17, 18. I know it's not all about touchdowns, so I'll look at interceptions. 2006, the year they won the Super Bowl, he threw 23 interceptions. The past few years, he's thrown 14, 13, 16, 9, 14, 8. I mean, Kyle,
but did they win Super Bowls?
His QBR in 2006 was 55.5. In 2008, the other year they won the Super Bowl, was 45.7. This year it's 61.8.
Did they walk away with rings on their fingers?
Yeah. I mean, James Harrison had a pick 6.
Got him.
So Kyle, I think you just locked yourself into a double standard here because you think Eli Manning is the worst quarterback ever. And my argument to you was, Kyle, he beat 2 of the greatest Patriots teams.
I'll give you that. I ran myself.
Yeah, thank you. And the same draft class too. The audacity. Anyways, Scott, your take on Leonard Williams.
I think Leonard Williams is a very good defensive lineman. I don't think he's great or a transformational talent or any of those things. I think he's a guy that the Jets played it safe when they picked him, and I don't blame them because he was a guy that I think everybody agreed was a pretty safe bet to be a very good NFL player and perhaps even an excellent NFL player. I don't see him as J.J. Watt or somebody like that, and that can change. He's only been in the league a couple of years. It's not impossible.
He plays different positions.
No, I just meant
3-4 defensive end. I know he plays one tack, but I'm just saying, I mean, he's throwing it out as an analogy, is what he expected his impact to be.
Right. That's basically what I'm saying. And so I think it's possible. I think, obviously, as you said, if you knew then what you know now, you would have picked Beasley just because Beasley is a guy that can just flat out wreak havoc all over the place by rushing the passer and doing the one thing besides getting a quarterback that is so hard to find in the NFL. But look, Leonard Williams is a very, very good player. He's a young guy who has room to grow from here. So while I wouldn't say he's an elite player at this point, it's certainly a pick that I don't look back at and cringe about. I think it was a good pick the same way that I think Jamal Adams will probably end up being that way. I think everybody was trying to say that Jamal Adams is a special talent and that he may be an Ed Reed or something like that, and he may be. But at the very least, we've already seen that he can be a good NFL player. He's had a very nice rookie year. And so I kind of put Leonard Williams and Jamal Adams in that category of guys that are very, very strong talents that could potentially make that leap to I suppose you'd say all-pro level, but it's not something I would say is any kind of guarantee.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with that. I think that's a very sound and reasonable thing to say. And yeah, I mean, I made that point. If we're saying Leonard Williams is going to be a very good defensive lineman in this league, he's performed pretty well, and I think this is a good place for him. I was just saying, for those who think he's going to be the franchise-changing player, he might not be that, and that's okay. He still could. I mean, he has a nice voice crack. Anyways, the guy I will say though that I do think can be a very good, I don't want to throw out big names again because we don't want to fall into the same Jamal Adams, Leonard Williams thing, but I think Marcus May might have the most potential out of all three of those guys to be a franchise-changing player. Maybe that's just because he's free safety, and so he, think about Leonard as an interior lineman, so he's not getting as many flashy, sacks stats. Jamal also plays close to the line, so he's not more of a pass coverage guy, but so maybe that's the reason Marcus May is sitting here at free safety. He's going to be involved in a lot of, passing plays. He's had a few interceptions already. He's a sound tackler. I mean, he's displayed a lot in his rookie year. He's displayed that he's a very good tackler, a hard hitter, and then he can pick the ball off. And then he's been a very smart rookie too. He hasn't made too many mistakes. I mean, he's made a few, and we expected that. But by all accounts, I mean, he's helped out the Jet secondary that was completely torched on deep routes in and year out. Or I guess I could just say last year they were consistently torched on 50-yard bombs getting over Darrelle Revis, and meanwhile Marcus Gilchrist is flying after him. But it's like, how many times have we seen the Jets getting beat by a 60-yard bomb? I'm aware Tyreek Hill had a few in the Chiefs game. There's been a few here and there, but a lot less. Yeah, that's Tyreek Hill first of all, but a lot less than last year. And Marcus May and Jamal Adams are still developing. But I think Marcus May, might, and I know that'll make Kyle happy as a Florida Gators fan, but he might have the potential to be the best out of those three that I just named.
Yeah, Corey Griffin brought up a really good point when he joined us on the post-game podcast after the game this past week. Hey, gotta work it in there. But he brought up a great point. He said the reason why Jamal Adams was drafted 6th and Marcus May was drafted in the 2nd round is not necessarily because Jamal Adams was better than Marcus May now. It was that everybody kind of acknowledged that Marcus May's ceiling was lower than Jamal Adams' ceiling. And so both guys were thought to be ready to go on day one and be productive players, but a lot of scouts and talent evaluators believe that Adams would eventually reach that elite level, whereas May would probably just be a pretty good safety. And who knows, that may ultimately be how this turns out. But I think both guys had good rookie years, but objectively looking at it, if you didn't know who went where, you would probably say that Marcus May was drafted higher only because I think he's been a better safety than Jamal Adams, at least so far this year. Other than that one game in Miami, against Miami at home, when Jamal Adams seriously looked like he might be Troy Polamalu, he's been fine, but May has been the more consistent, steady presence. And like you said, Ben, I think he's been a big part of the reason why there hasn't been as many huge plays racked up against this defense this year through the air as there had been the last couple of years when, like you said, there's Marcus Gilchrist who can't cover anybody to begin with, trying to make up for the fact that Darrelle Revis was on vacation.
No, yeah, I mean, definitely. I agree with that. I think, the one thing I will give Jamal is you always notice him. He never disappears in a game, which is very good.
Sure.
For better or for worse, I guess you always notice Kyle Wilson too, I guess. But for the purposes of, he's not a guy that, I'm not comparing the two, I'm just saying.
That was pretty good. I'll give you that one.
Thank you, Kyle. But it's not like he's disappearing on game days. Jamal Adams is in on every run, every, tackle. He's in on a lot of pass plays. He flies around and makes plays. So I'm very excited about Jamal Adams' future.
Sure. And I wasn't bagging on the pick or Adams, by the way. So.
No, I completely understand. Well, let's, I guess, get into this week's game. Since the Jets are now officially eliminated from playoffs, I guess we'll talk a little bit more about it. But Scott, I just wanted to get your take on I mean, how is it possible in your mind that you think the Jets will shoot themselves in the foot here, Plaxico Burress, and win this game, and ruin their draft stock?
Might just kill ourselves, Aaron Hernandez.
Okay.
I hope they don't repeat Plaxico Burress's mistake and end up in jail for 2 years. I would say that it's certainly possible. Anything's possible. I mean, it's Christmas Eve. The Chargers are coming. Which soundbite?
Anything's possible. Do we have that soundbite?
No, we do not.
Oh.
It will be added to. We haven't used soundbites in a while. Anyways, Scott, continue.
Yeah, so it's Christmas Eve. The Chargers are coming all the way across the country. They just got beat by the Chiefs pretty badly. So who knows? It's not impossible. But at the same time, I'd say it's fairly unlikely. I think if McCown were playing, this would definitely be a game to keep your eye on. But with Petty in there, I don't know how this team will score enough points to be able to be competitive this week or next week. So I'd say the answer is they're the Jets. Anything's possible. But I think it's at least a reasonably safe bet that they're going to finish this thing 5-11, which at this point is the best outcome. No matter what anybody wants to tell you about how you're not a real fan unless you root for the team, even if it's the last week of the season and if they lose, they get the number one pick and the quarterback they want, and if they win, they drop all the way to 5. I'm just throwing out a wacky scenario. But if you root against your team, you're a bad fan or something, despite what people like that will tell you, it's the best outcome at this point is for them to go 5-11 for sure.
Well, personally, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you root for them to win or lose. They're going to do whatever.
Sure.
But my personal thing is once they lose 8 games, I'll cheer for them to lose. Once they hit that 8 game, that means they're done no matter what. And especially, it's like you're sitting here in December. You can get to 5-11, which is what you were at last year, which got you the 6th pick, and it very well might do it again. Just they should probably lose. Now, Scott, I wanted to ask you, it's kind of a two-sided question. What are you expecting from Bryce Petty this weekend? And then, again, I'll follow that up with, how bad would he have to play to see Christian Hackenberg Week 17 against New England?
Whew, boy. I guess I would say what I expect and what I'd like to see are probably two different things. What I expect is maybe a marginal improvement over what we saw against the Saints, only because they're at home and maybe Petty went through the tape and was able to pick up on a little something. But you can't fix certain things within a week, especially things that are lifelong bad traits, and in some cases you can't fix them at all. His footwork would be one of them. I don't know if we're going to see anything better than what we saw against the Saints, and I wouldn't be 100% shocked to see it be even worse because, remember, you've got Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa to deal with there, and a Jets offensive line that has been shaky, and I'm being charitable there, throughout the season. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it get even worse. As far as seeing Christian Hackenberg, man, I'll tell you, I really believe that what's going on with that is that they know how bad he is, and they are desperately trying to avoid having any scenario where he would play at all, because if they go out in the offseason and they get Kirk Cousins, or they go out and they get Baker Mayfield and pair him with Tyrod Taylor or Case Keenum or somebody like that, then the fans will be satisfied because they'll know that the quarterback of the future and the present are in tow, and they can just kindly forget about Christian Hackenberg and move on. But if he goes out there, and it's kind of the Paxton Lynch conundrum, we saw what happened in Denver when he went out there and just embarrassed himself. If Hackenberg goes out there and plays as badly as we think he will, it's going to really shine a light on what a failure that pick was and how terrible a job Mike McCagnon and his guys did in deciding to pick him in the second round. So I think they'd rather just pretend that he never existed than put him out there for everybody to see. And so I would imagine that unless Petty gets hurt or is so bad we're talking like NFL historically bad, I can't imagine a scenario where Christian Hackenberg gets into the game, because I just think that with Elway, he was allowed to risk that because He's John Elway. He's a hero to the franchise. He delivered a Super Bowl as a general manager. He delivered more than one Super Bowl as a player, so he could get away with that. Mike McCagnon is on thin ice with a lot of the fan base to begin with. So if that scenario plays out the way that I think we all believe it would really hurt his credibility. And then you might even see people going, well, if this guy is this bad, how can we trust this guy to go out there and draft the right guy this time, especially after failing with Petty and Hackenberg. So I don't see it. I don't think he's going to play. So I know that those are two very grim answers as far as Petty and Hackenberg, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. And let's get to Bryce Petty's biggest fan, Mr. Kyle Fahey. Kyle, another freezing cold take that backfired. What do you want to say? What do you want to say to the fans?
I don't think anything backfired. He's starting the game. Christian Hackenberg is not for a reason.
I know, but you were a very big Bryce Petty fan in the offseason, and Kyle, he's not performing well. He looks pretty terrible.
I acknowledge that none of these guys were anything. I just said that Bryce Petty should be the starter, and he should be. It's better for the tank, and he's better than Christian Hackenberg, which still holds true today. Nothing that I said was wrong.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. He can never admit it. Kyle, you were here on the show, for those people who have listened to any of the shows in the offseason, talking how great Bryce Petty is after that 3-touchdown performance in the preseason against the Giants.
Ben, did I ever say
not remember anything?
Quarterback? Did I ever say he was a franchise quarterback?
Honestly, I don't even remember, Kyle. You say so many things each episode. I do remember, though, you tooting Bryce Petty's horn. I remember you saying
I wanted
he's
him
going
over
to
Hackenberg because I hate Christian Hackenberg and hated the pick. Hence, me already proving you wrong earlier. I cried. You proved yourself wrong.
Well, I said you didn't cry, and that's true. You said I'm going to cry, but
and then I actually cried.
You cried after the loss, really?
After we picked him.
Or, I mean, after we picked. Well, I mean, it's a loss either way. You cried after.
I mean, that was served on a platter there. I should have took that one.
Yeah. Anyways, all right, Kyle. We'll just keep it rolling then. We're gonna pretend like Kyle wasn't Bryce Petty's biggest stan over the offseason.
I still am. I still think he should be starting.
No, I know. I think he should be starting versus you being his biggest fan is different. You definitely. All right, it's fine. Well, I'll let it go because Kyle's just compulsive and he'll never stop. Kyle, I am curious, or Scott, excuse me. I am curious before we wrap up the show. I mean, I guess we can get into. I know we talked about the Chargers game a little bit. We didn't hear Kyle's take on that, but I wanted to get your thoughts, predictions.
Make it a loss, and I'll be happy. There's my take.
Well, I was going to ask that, and then really quickly, I have a follow-up question on that question. But how do you think the game's going to go? Your prediction, and then I'll ask the follow-up.
I think it's going to be fairly ugly. Like I said, when you have a team that has a franchise quarterback, 2 really good pass rushers, and something to play for going up against a team that's out of the playoffs and has a quarterback starting for it that is at best a borderline number 3, it looks like at this point. Well, the results don't seem like they're going to be great. Like I said, the one thing going in the Jets' favor here is the fact that the Chargers have to come all the way across the country to play this game. If you want to talk yourself into something positive, but I would imagine that whatever the spread is, and I haven't looked, the Chargers will probably cover it. And
I think the Chargers minus 7.5 off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't spoken to my brother about it, but I would imagine he would say take the Chargers and bet big. So that's what I would probably say. And I think that this will probably be a game where about halftime, I'll be wanting to just hang out with my family and not watch the game, but we have the post-game podcast, so I'll soldier on through it for everybody.
It's Chargers minus 6.5, which really means minus 9.5. So it's going to be ugly.
Well, yeah, speaking of the post-game podcast, I mean...
Ben, you're not coming on.
How are we doing? Is this week the week?
No.
Ben, if you want to come on this week, you're more than welcome. I know that there's this joke that we've been kidding around. Like, you were never blocked. Like, I know it's a gag that we've been running on the show. nobody ever blocked you. I know that Kyle would joke that he's had enough of you once a week, but you're more than. You know what? I'll tell you what. Here's what we'll do, Kyle. We will tape a separate thing. It'll just be me and Ben, and then me and you, so that you and Ben don't even have to interact. It's almost like I'm the therapist and I'm seeing each one of you individually. How's that?
No, I'd rather do it with him so I can ruin his spot. It's not even worth his time. That would be even better.
Whatever
Well,
you
Scott,
guys want to work out.
All right. Well, Scott, thank you very much for being the gracious host you are. Meanwhile, Kyle, I don't know. I don't even have any comebacks for you anymore.
Kim Kardashian does.
That wasn't original, but I still liked it.
Yeah.
I know where you got that.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, Scott, well, I wanted to ask you really quickly before we end it, how do you think the Jets are going to end this season? What's their record going to be, and where are they going to be picking in the draft? I mean, that's really the only question that remains for the regular season is where are they going to fall? How do you see this playing out? I'll pull up the top 10 of the NFL draft order right now, but the Jets are tied with a bunch of teams, and then we're going to have to get some help these final two games. Not to get to the playoffs, but to get that higher pick.
Small rant, quickly. Strength of schedule should not determine who's going ahead if there was a head-to-head matchup. They just lost to the Broncos.
But the problem, Kyle, the problem with that is, and I actually do understand it, is if you have a three-way tie and one team Team A beats Team B, but Team B beats Team C and Team C beats Team A, you have.
I'm already lost then.
Okay, fine. We'll take Cincinnati, Denver, and the Jets. Let's say Cincinnati beats the Jets beat Denver, and Denver beats Cincinnati. Who has higher than Kyle? That's why they do strength of schedule.
In that case, it would be strength of schedule. But in a case where it's a two-way tie, which it is with Denver and the Jets right now, it should be head-to-head.
But I think Denver and Cincinnati played. I think that's why. I mean, I might be wrong, but
I would anticipate that Denver won that game.
Hold on, let's see. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. Yeah, they did play, and the Bengals won. So in that case, Kyle. So then it's like, okay, so Denver beat the Jets, but Cincinnati beat Denver. So where do the Jets go? So that's Kyle. They avoid all that and say, okay, who had the easiest schedule and still managed to go 5-9?
What's Cincinnati's record? Because I doubt
5-9. Better. They're all the same. That's why you use this
Cincinnati
example.
won 5 games this year?
Yeah, Cincinnati's 5-9, Denver's 5-9, the Jets are 5-9. Cincinnati's picking 8, Denver's 9, we're 10. Cincinnati beat Denver. Denver beat us. We didn't play the Cincinnati. So that's why they do strength of schedule. I actually understand. I didn't at first, but then I realized that Cincinnati's also tied. Then you have
I gotta go to Tankathon to.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm on Tankathon.com. At 4 is Houston, but it's Cleveland's pick. But Cleveland. Houston at 4-10. At 5 is San Francisco at 4-10. At 6 is Chicago at 4-10. At 7 is Tampa Bay at 4-10. Then it's 8, 9, 10, Cincinnati, Denver, and the Jets. So they're all in reach. I don't think all those teams are going to win, and the Jets are going to be the one team that loses. But I could see the Jets, maybe sneaking to this 7 or 6 spot, especially if San Francisco keeps winning with Jimmy G. If because San Francisco they win their next game. Let's see they have
what you're saying is the Jets should have the 7th pick. This is how I'm rationalizing this.
The San Francisco had an easier schedule and still lost.
Sorry.
San Francisco's got Jimmy G though, so they may end up winning another game or two.
That's what I'm saying. If San Francisco wins these next 2 games, they'll be ahead of us or behind us. Chicago, if they win one of the next 2 games, they'll be behind us. Tampa Bay wins one of the next 2 games, they'll be behind us. They very narrowly lost to the Falcons.
Prime cucking right here. Are you ready for this? San Fran's going to win one game out. San Fran's going to win one game out of these last 2, right? And then they're going to re-sign Jimmy G long term because he's pretty
good. Draft Saquon Barkley.
No. Trade with the Buffalo Bills. Bills go right in front of us because the 49ers have the strength of schedule thing over us. And they pick a quarterback right in front of us. They get the franchise, and they make the playoffs the next 17 years.
Baker Mayfield in Buffalo would be a fun combo. Not for the Jets. But for the tailgate.
I'm a Buffalo fan. I made this hop on the bandwagon. Circle the wagons.
You're just going to cheer for every other AFC East team? But anyway,
Honestly.
Scott, back to your question. How do you see this playing out? I mean, there's really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Please don't be 8. Okay, 7 teams. There's 7 teams that are all right there. The highest the Jets could get is 4th. I don't even want to go to the lowest. I guess they could get to 15th if they play their cards right. But they're not going to. They're not going to because there's like 6 teams that are 6 and 8, so they're not going to. But anyways, I want to get your thoughts. Where do you see the Jets ending up in these? They have really 10 spots of wiggle room here. Where do you see they end up? Right now they're picking right in the middle at 10. Do you think they can slide up to 6 or 7?
I think it's definitely possible. I suspect they're going to lose the last 2 games. If McCown was there, I might be a little nervous about it, but he's not. So I think they were going to be
won last week if McCown was there. It was a godsend he broke his hand.
Well, I never root for a guy to get hurt, but from a perspective of wanting the team to lose, yes, it was certainly advantageous that he wasn't in the game. I think they would have been heavy underdogs in either one of these games anyway, but without McCown, it takes it from, hey, these guys might have a shot to, I don't think so, especially against the Patriots. I have to see, there's a guy on, I'm sorry, what, Kyle?
Bryce Petty, Patriot killer, calling it right now.
Get that sound clip ready, Ben. You're going to need it at some point, I suspect. But I think that the rooting now becomes, I think there's a guy named Vin, and I wish I could remember his handle. Yeah. He put together a really cool thing, and I joked that I was going to print it out and put it on my refrigerator. But he put out something where he put together a rooting schedule, essentially, so that you know who to root for and who to root against the rest of the season to get the Jets' optimal draft position. I think probably a couple of those teams will win one of the last 2. I think the Niners are an interesting team that they may end up because of Jimmy G, but I think they'll be more than happy to have ended the season on a winning streak with Jimmy G and go into next year with him as the quarterback. I think that if I were to guess just out of thin air, I'm going to say they'll probably end up picking 6th or 7th. And I think, and we'll get into this a lot more later on, I'm sure.
We'll have 3 months of this.
Right. But I think that when it all comes down to it, if Darnold comes out, and I don't know if he's going to or not, but let's just for the sake of argument say that he does, I think you're going to see 3 quarterbacks go in the top 5 because I think all said and done, Baker Mayfield is going to end up, like right now people are talking about him as being a mid-first round pick. I think it's going to be kind of like Mark.
He might be a top 10 pick after the season.
Yeah, he's going to be a top 10 pick for sure, I think.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so I think it's going to be similar to what happened with Mark Sanchez, where at first you thought maybe the Jets could get him if they sat at 17, and then they ended up having to trade all the way up to number 5. I think Mayfield probably goes top 5. I think if Rosen and Darnold come out, they both go top 5. And so I think what's going to happen is the Jets are going to sit just outside that top 5, and then they're going to have to decide just what it's worth to them to pony up a lot of picks to go up a few spots, because you know how it goes, guys. When quarterbacks are involved, the prices, it's kind of like when you're trying to buy something out of a minibar, right? If you were at Walmart or CVS and you bought it there, okay, well, it's a reasonable price. But if you're stuck in your hotel at 2 in the morning and the only thing available to you is what's in the minibar, well, now all of a sudden that candy bar that's 50 cents at the store is $5 out of your minibar. So that's what happens when quarterbacks get.
You can go to the vending machine down the hall and pay like $3 for a case Keenum.
You could.
Yeah.
You could. That might be what ends up happening. But this is why I think, and again, we'll get into this a lot later, but I think that the Jets are crazy not to, at the very least, do everything they can to try to get Kirk Cousins, because it takes all of the uncertainty off of the table. But we'll see. I think that that's what's going to happen, though. Those 3 guys will probably go top 5 if Darnold comes out. The Jets will be 6th or 7th, and they're going to have to decide if one of those quarterbacks is who they want and just what it's worth to them to go up. That's my hunch of how this is going to play out.
Couple hot takes off of that.
Hold on. Kyle. No,
I have a joke.
Pausing your hot take.
I have a joke.
Give your one joke, and then I'm bringing it back.
If we do pay the $3 for the Case Keenum out of the vending machine, I will hang myself promptly from the balcony of that hotel.
Okay, all right. No. Kyle, it's a family-friendly show here.
Bullshit.
My God, Aaron Hernandez. Okay, let's go.
So, in other words, what you're saying is if the Jets sign Case Keenum, it'll be the Jet Take with Ben Blessington.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Case Keenum's had a pretty good year.
He's played very well.
He's played very well. I'm worried he's another Neil O'Donnell, who was well before my time, but I don't know. Anyways, I'll just
trying to win over Scott this morning, I can tell.
I will say this, though, as far as Case Keenum. I know this is not going to make Kyle happy. I don't know if this is an aberration or whatever, but I will say he's certainly shown that he can run that offense very well. I would be curious to see if Shermer gets himself a head coaching job elsewhere, let's say Cincinnati, where we know that Marvin Lewis is going, and they may be looking to get rid of Andy Dalton. That could be an interesting situation where Shermer goes in there and brings Case Keenum with him, and then we'll see what Case Keenum is made out of if he can do this with other personnel. But he's clearly learned how to play very well within that Pat Shermer system. I can say that much.
Yeah, Shermer will be a hot head coaching candidate. That was another guy that I forgot to bring up with Dan. It's like,
has he been a head coach before, Pat Shermer?
I think he was with the Browns.
Yeah. 1 year with the Browns, and they didn't give him a fair shake, and they just booted him after a year.
But, I mean, look what he's done. I mean, even losing you forget that, I mean, the Vikings have Dalvin Cook, who was tearing it up and then got hurt. So I think it's like...
well, not only that, but he lost his two top quarterbacks.
Yeah, definitely.
Sam Bradford was having a Pro Bowl year.
It's kind of like, you don't want to. When you're picking head coaches, it's almost like the grass is always greener. But it's like Pat Shermer is a pretty damn good coaching candidate. Has had head coaching experience. Has done a great work as an offensive coordinator. I mean, for the Jets at least, you're getting a guy who has head coaching experience. So he, for the love of God, knows when to call timeouts. You'd hope. He's turned Case Keenum into a Pro Bowl quarterback. He's handled all sorts of adversity and handled it. He's an offensive-minded coach. If the Jets could start talking to Shermer and could pique his interest, then maybe you might give Bowles the boot. I don't think Bowles is leaving, but
Yeah, I was just going to say, let me throw this out there. I know it's not popular with a certain segment of the fan base, and I don't know that I love it myself. Bowles isn't going anywhere, not this year at least.
Yeah.
I just don't see it, especially considering that Chris Johnson is the one in charge, and he's going to be reluctant to make a big move like that, especially when expectations were so low. I'm not saying I necessarily would be against Todd Bowles being gone, or McCagnon for that matter, but I think there's a very, very, very small chance that either one of them isn't here next year.
Yeah, I like McCagnon more than Bowles, but I think you're right, Scott. I agree with you. I don't think he's going anywhere. I didn't even think about that Chris Johnson point, but that is a pretty good point that he might not want to have a huge shakeup when he's not even 1 year on the job. But I do agree. It is though. It's like, is Shermer or Bill O'Brien? I don't know.
I think
they be better than
Shermer's
Bowles?
more in that boat with who's the Eagles' defensive coordinator right now? Used to be the Lions head coach.
Jim Schwartz.
I feel like he's kind of in that boat, except hasn't completely proven himself as an idiot, but like if given the opportunity, probably will happen.
Well, Schwartz had a lot more years as head coach of the Lions, though, than Shermer got it with the Browns.
And he had Megatron and Matthew Stafford, and obviously a lot to work with. But some guys are just veterans and coordinators. And,
Shermer, Shermer, was he the guy directly after Mangini?
I
think knows with the Browns. They probably had five coaches.
I believe Shermer came in between Mangini and Pettin, but I'm not 100% sure.
I think he was that guy, or he was after Pettin and was.
Mike Pettin's like an assistant head coach in Jacksonville now, right?
Hold on. I got to look this up now.
Mike Pettin's still out of work 2 years later. I don't know what's going on. Isn't he still out of work?
No, I'm pretty sure he's an assistant head coach in Jacksonville. Right?
Is he?
Or is that Doug Marrone?
No, Doug Marrone is the head coach.
Oh yeah, no. Shermer was in between Pettin and because he was the coach in 2011 for 1 year.
So he was between Mangini and Pettin then.
Yes.
Okay.
And after, I think he got 2 years because after he's hired. He was hired in
A year and an
2011
off season,
and was
probably.
fired at the end of the 2012 season. I think he got 2 years.
Did he? Okay. I thought he only had one, but either way,
Unless
I think he
Wikipedia is
was
wrong.
Oh, no, probably not. I think he was put into a rough situation, and I think that there are a lot of times where guys will succeed. Like when you put a guy in a tough situation like that and he doesn't do so well, and then he proves his mettle again as a coordinator, as a college coach, you can see a scenario where that guy turns around and proves that he can do it. So
let me say this though. Pat Shermer went 5-11 in both of his seasons. In bowls, best case scenario for the tank crowd is going to go 5-11 in 2 straight years. It's like I don't know. It's like, really? Is this the guy? I think he'll be back, and I think there's a good reason he should be. But I don't think he's a very good head coach, and so the fan part of me is just like, get rid of him. But I know it's hard to just get rid of him, especially, the players definitely love him, and it's like,
I think the narrative helps him a lot too, Ben, because people, not the narrative that we crafted, but the narrative that a lot of these national muckrakers and people like the aforementioned Mr. Meadow were throwing out there that this is the worst team in the history of mankind. So he wins 5 games, and now all of a sudden, no, it never was. That's what I'm saying. We've talked a lot about.
If they had the reasonable expectation they're going to finish around 7-8 wins, and then we could objectively look at, or maybe 6 or 5 more, between where they landed, and you can objectively look at this guy. I mean, this team blew 6 fourth-quarter leads, and you could argue, well, they're in the games, and he's the head coach against good teams, but they also blew it. I wanted to add, though, and this was a while ago, but we kept getting sidetracked. If the Jets were going to trade up, I have a hard time so let's say the Jets are picking 7th, and Baker Mayfield we think is going to go around 5. I'd have a hard time trading up to 5 to get Baker Mayfield. I would almost rather be if I'm going to trade up, I'm putting all my chips and going to number 1 and getting Rosen. And maybe Cleveland wouldn't do that.
That's assuming that, that's the problem also. It's assuming Cleveland would want
to do that.
But
I will say this. Maybe Cleveland likes Mayfield more, and then it's you have Cleveland, the Giants, and the Cleveland's fucking 4th right now. And especially if Houston keeps losing, they could be up to 3rd. And then you're okay, so Cleveland trades to us, we pick Rose, and the Giants pick Darnold, and now you're picking 3rd.
Maybe you're not wrong about hopping on the Browns bandwagon before the Patriots bandwagon.
I mean, they could have the top 3 picks. If the Colts win.
Ben, it's funny you say that because I forget who it was, but Jeff Lloyd, our friend who does Locked on Browns, he's always retweeting tons of these Cleveland reporters. And I don't remember who it was, but one of these Cleveland reporters that came out today with a report. And again, who knows whether this is true or not, and we've got 3 months to go. But the report was that apparently Dorsey and most of the scouts think Mayfield is a better quarterback than Rosen and would prefer to take him. But Hugh Jackson, exactly. But Hugh Jackson, supposedly Hugh Jackson prefers Rosen. Who knows what's true? But I only say this to say that you could be right, and who the hell knows what the Browns might do, especially if they have 2 picks in the top 5.
Yeah, they should have 2 picks in the top 5 if Houston keeps on losing. And it's I don't know. I mean, if I'm picking 7th, I know the price to trade up to 5 is going to be a lot easier than trading up to 1. But it's if you're going to trade up to get your guy is almost my gut reaction. I'm not, I'm not.
Maybe your guy is Mayfield.
You're right. Maybe it is. And at this point, I'm not completely sold on him. I'll be honest. I mean, I've only watched a few of, I haven't even watched film of him. I've watched his games, like the game against Ohio State, which was very impressive and some stuff, his big games, and I'll watch him, in these college football playoffs. But then in the off season around February, I'll watch more of his games and make up my mind. But it's I'm not completely sold on him as a prospect. I am more sold on Rose, and I've watched more of his games, and I think he can make all the throws, and that's really the reason that he's the guy that has big-time arm, can make literally every throw, super accurate with the football, and, I don't know.
Bit of a riverboat gambler, though. I see some Farbian tendencies there.
Yes, but I see more Farbian tendencies in Mayfield. I mean,
Sure.
This guy is kind of wheeling and dealing, and it's like, and
but
he might be very good.
He's only thrown 5 interceptions this year, and I think like adjusted,
You're right.
like even with drops, I think it was only 12. And that compared to guys like Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold, and Mayfield's played for twice the amount of years as them. It's not even comparable.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right. But also they're in different.
Fair point.
I mean, Mayfield works entirely
weaker
out of
competition too, arguably.
Mayfield works entirely out of the shotgun. I mean, there are some different systems, differences, Kyle, that you have to take into the equation. But anyways, my point was, if you're going to trade up, make sure you trade up for your guy. Don't trade up for your plan C. If you're going to trade up, get your guy. And, and we can avoid all.
Don't trade up for Ryan Tannehill. If you're going to trade up, go and get Andrew Luck.
And that's what. Yeah, exactly. If you're going to trade up, go get your guy. Is basically my
Travis
point.
Wingfield's going to get pissed at me for that, but you know what I mean.
Even if you have to throw in
a subscriber, so we're good.
It's fine. Even if you have to throw in another, a few other picks, it's like it's almost worth it. I would rather have Rosen be the quarterback of this team for 15 years and give up, 3 first-round draft picks than give up 2 first-round draft picks and have Mayfield, be okay for a few years. And who knows? Maybe he'll be a very good quarterback. I don't know.
It really depends, Ben, on A, if that pick is even available, and B, what you think the difference is between those guys. So if you think that Rosen and Mayfield are relatively close, and you can get into position to pick Mayfield for a hell of a lot less than you can for Rosen, then maybe you do that. But if you think there's a huge gap and there's an opportunity, and again, this is all presupposing that the Jets don't get Kirk Cousins or something. So there's so many variables here. But I agree with you. I think that if you go into this thing and you scout everybody and either you decide you don't want to pay Cousins or he turns you down, and you go into the draft and you say, look, we're looking at this and there's only one quarterback that we think is going to be a real all-pro level potential type guy, and it's Rosen, and the Browns are willing to deal that pick, then do what you got to do. But I think there's a lot of things that are going to have to be worked out over the next couple of months. And you know how these things go, man. Like Carson Wentz, a couple of months before the draft, it was thought he might be a nice sleeper in the 2nd or 3rd round. The next thing you know, the Eagles are trading up 3 drafts to go up and get him at number 2. So who knows how these...
worth it. Now, we should add that it was completely worth it for them to go get him.
Well, assuming he comes back from this injury healthy and has a nice career. Otherwise, I mean, who knows? But either way...
Yes. I mean, yes, assuming he's healthy, yes, it's completely worth it.
But the point that you're making, which is 100% true, is that there's no price that's too high to pay for a guy who's an MVP level or all-pro level quarterback at the age of 20 or 21. So if you feel like you can make that move and that's the guy that you really like, then go ahead. But I think that there's a lot of interesting stuff that you could see. There are going to be quarterbacks that will probably be pushed up the board that we're not expecting. And who knows with Lamar Jackson, too, because remember last year we were hearing whispers about Deshaun Watson, that he wasn't a first-round prospect, that he might not go till the 2nd or 3rd round, and he ended up going in the top 15 anyway. So there's so much to be seen here. It's going to be an interesting couple of months, guys.
Bold take, I think Lamar Jackson's going to go in the 1st. And I think he'll be that end of the 1st, middle of the 1st guy. I think Scott is right. I think Scott is right. I think that these 3 quarterbacks are going to go in the top 5, very least top 10. And you're telling me a quarterback team that's picking at, let's look at this tankathon, this draft order. You're telling me I have to find a team that needs a quarterback that's just kind of in the middle here. I don't know. I mean, even Jacksonville 26 with Bortles, I guess he's playing pretty well this year. There was literally the first team I saw. I don't know. I'm trying to think of. I'm scrolling through teams here very fast. I don't know. Arizona at 11. I mean, what's their plan at the quarterback? They need a quarterback.
They took a quarterback in the 2nd round last year, didn't they?
I don't believe they did.
Arizona?
Yeah,
I don't think so. Did they?
Because they have Paul. I mean, their team's old, so you're telling me they don't. Maybe they trade back a little bit.
That might have been
maybe they get to 20th pick and take him. I'm just saying I think Lamar Jackson's draft stock is going to go up, and I think he's going to end up in the 1st round.
It could be.
I think he'll be a quarterback.
Yeah, with quarterbacks, you just never know. I mean, you go through, there's been so many examples. I remember when Christian Ponder and Jake Locker inexplicably got shoved up into the 1st round. In fact, I think both guys might have even gone top 10 or something close to it because teams just decided they were afraid that, because you might see that. You might see Mason Rudolph or somebody like that get shoved all the way up into the first round. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
All it takes is one GM to pull that trigger. So it's going to be a wild time the next couple of months for us as Jets fans, speculating and holding our breath and wondering, unless, of course, they take all of the excitement out of it, I mean, so to speak, as far as the draft, and they are able to get Kirk Cousins, and then, okay, the draft isn't maybe as exciting for that purpose, but we can all take a deep breath, right?
I kind of almost want them to just get Cousins, because then you have the quarterback position nailed down, and then the Jets are picking 6th or 7th, and then I get to be excited about, okay, who are they going to take? Is Saquon Barkley going to fall? Do you take the running back top then? But then you look
something
at
with Bradley Chubb, yeah.
Yeah, but Bradley Chubb, let's see, he's available. Definitely take him. And then it's like, you know, there's a lot of good mid-round running back prospects, so maybe you wouldn't take Barkley, or you could go with somebody defensively. I don't know. I would almost not want to have to worry about the quarterback position, but yes, hot take. I think Lamar Jackson will be a first-round quarterback. At the very least, I think 4 quarterbacks can go in the first round.
I think
so
he should be.
I think he will be, because I think, first of all, a quarterback, you know, it's December right now. These guys always shoot up around March. You're telling me this guy's, you know, one of the most exciting players in college football, a quarterback, you know, has a very low turnover, you know, turnover to touchdown ratio. I mean, he's putting up 40-something touchdowns, and then, you know, I don't know exactly how many interceptions. I forget the number, but under 5. I don't know. I could definitely see a team taking a chance on him in the first
Lamar
round.
Jackson? Yes, certainly. I mean, I know you don't want to.
Time will tell if that was an overreach or a good pick, but at 3 quarterbacks who are in the top 5, there are 27 other teams, and I would bet maybe 5 to 10 of those teams need quarterbacks. You're telling me none of them is going to roll the dice on a guy who's been a top talent in college football?
It's possible. Like I said, all it takes is one general manager, and I know you yell at me, Ben, when I bring him up, but I'm still curious to hear.
Bill Foley doesn't love Lamar Jackson.
No, I just want to know what his thought process is, and I would like to know why so many general managers. By the way, one guy we haven't mentioned as a first-round pick, and I'm surprised, as much as I'm sure we all would roll our eyes, there's still a possibility that Josh Allen gets picked in the first round, fellas.
You're right. No, I'm saying this. 4 quarterbacks will go in the first round.
Him this morning.
I think it'll be Lamar Jackson, but it could be Josh Allen. It could be Mason Rudolph. It could be Falk from Washington State. It could be any of them. And my thing on Bill Polian, I'd be curious to see when did he say that, because last year, before 2016, Lamar Jackson, I don't think was an NFL quarterback. Maybe, but this past year, for people who haven't watched him as much, and I think, you know, his numbers have probably gone, people watching him, I guess, that's what I'm trying to say, viewers have gone down, just because, you know, last year he was new on the scene, exciting, Heisman winner. This year, I think less people have watched him as much and have kind of made up their minds on him based off 2016. 2016, Lamar Jackson was not an NFL quarterback. 2017, Lamar Jackson is. I like it. I like his ceiling. So I'm a Lamar Jackson fan. I don't know if he's a right fit for the Jets, but I do think another team will take him.
I like him a lot too. I don't know how this is going to play out, but I do know that we've got a couple of months to talk about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll tell you, I know that there's going to be endless columns, endless podcasts, endless speculation about what the Jets are going to do and what is going to happen with Lamar Jackson in general, whether it's the Jets or somebody else. So I'm looking forward to that. As Joe Malfa joked with me the other day, it's time for bowl season, and then soon it'll be time for draft season. So happy holidays.
I think you're definitely right, Scott. I think we're going to have all this build up, and then the Jets are going to keep Bulls and trade down. I think that's the depressing truth that might happen. Scott, on that note, we'd like to wish you a happy holidays. I know we have to record something for you, so I guess we can do that after if you want. But really quickly, shout out your podcast. You do great work over at Play Like a Jet. You have a terrific normal show. Well, I guess it's not normal. It's very unique, but a terrific, I'm trying to think of the usual show you do, and then you have your post-game podcast with Mr. Fahey. And I might make a guest appearance this weekend. It depends if I'm invited or not. But to shout out all the work you do, tell our listeners where they can give you a follow.
Thanks, Ben. Well, first of all, you are invited, so if you want to come on Christmas Eve, you're more than welcome to.
I've the invitation.
I know Kyle maybe a little bit drunk on eggnog at some point. So who knows how belligerent he could be. We could actually have, for the first time, a makeshift version of the Jet Take pregame show that no one else usually gets to hear. If Kyle has enough eggnog, who knows? He might let it all rip, and God only knows what to expect with that. But
do we upload it on the Jet Take? I guess we'll just have a giant disclaimer. This isn't Jets football.
Yeah,
and we'll just talk. We'll have the pregame show.
Not suitable for the place.
Kyle starts yelling about Joe Budden and R. Kelly, and the next thing you know, half hour of me hitting the bleep. Yeah, there you go. Half hour of me hitting the bleep button.
We could do a live Super Bowl show where we'll just watch the Super Bowl and Kyle and
I'll be cheering as Tom Brady gets his 6th ring.
Oh, we'll do the NFC Championship then.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, so
I'll be cheering as Jimmy Garoppolo thanks Tom Brady for everything he's done.
Jimmy Garoppolo's 4-11 right now, or 4-10 right now.
Anything is possible through GQ.
By the way, PFF rankings, I don't know if you've seen this, but apparently Jimmy Garoppolo, after only 3 starts, is officially the most handsome quarterback to ever start 3 games in the NFL. So there you go.
Got him.
He's overtaking Sanchez.
I just slapped my knee, just to let you know.
But, yeah, so today we dropped part 5, actually, of the Monday Night Miracle with Marcus Coleman on Play Like a Jet. And it's been so much fun because Marcus was arguably the star of that game. He had a huge day all game long. They had a great battle with Aronde Gadsden, the receiver from the Miami Dolphins, and he gave Jay Fiedler fits, so it was a lot of fun to have him on to talk about this. And we're going through it play-by-play, bit-by-bit, and Marcus is sharing his memories of the game. Like I said, it's like watching a director's cut version of a movie, and for me as a long-time diehard Jet fan, it's really a unique experience, and I've enjoyed it a lot. This week, we get into the 4th quarter. The Jets are down 30-7. Now, the game is called the Monday Night Miracle for a reason, so I'm sure even if you haven't seen it, you can figure out that at some point this thing is going to turn. Well, the 4th quarter is where that begins to happen. A lot of really interesting stories from Marcus, not just about plays that he made in the 4th quarter, but, man, guys like Wayne Corbett and Lavernius Coles just out there balling, so tough, and making these great moves on catches where it looked like they were going to get stopped and made plays out of nothing. Vinny Testaverde, who the fans were booing and people thought they should pull him for Ray Lucas, all of a sudden he starts to heat up a little bit. And I got to make this observation. I've actually said it a couple of times now, and the more I rewatch this game, the more it hits me. Dennis Miller was nowhere near as bad on commentary for Monday Night Football as some people like to remember. He was panned widely when they selected him in the first place. I think a lot of it is because they felt like, what's this comedian doing in the Monday Night Football booth? How dare he invade our space? But he added a lot of fun to that commentary team. In fact, there was a great catch by Wayne Corbett where he just gets all giddy, and you could see the football fan in him and how excited he was. Kind of brought a common man perspective, but a guy who also is a polished public speaker and a funny guy. So you'll see a little bit of that too, but that's what we get into in part 5 of the Monday Night Miracle. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to it yet today, go ahead. If you haven't heard the entire series yet, I promise it's a lot of fun. Even Ben liked it. So you can go. Ben usually is like, whoa, I don't know, man. That was before I was born. But I know, what? Ben, you and I'm teasing. I'm teasing, Ben.
I've been very complimentary of your podcast.
No,
I
know.
Fan. I was about 1 years old when that happened.
I know. I'm just busting your chops. No, actually, in all seriousness, Ben has been extremely complimentary, not just on the air, but even in private, in direct messages and phone calls and stuff. So I appreciate both of you guys being supportive. But, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Part 5 dropped today. You can subscribe on iTunes. You can check it out at turnonthejets.com and anywhere where you can download podcasts. Please rate and leave reviews, not just for Play Like a Jet, but also for the Turn on the Jets podcast with Joe and Dalvin, and obviously for the Jet Take. It really doesn't take a lot of time out of your day. It doesn't cost you anything, but I promise it helps us out a lot. So if you enjoy the great content that we keep delivering at Turn on the Jets Digital, please help us out. and go and rate and review the podcast on iTunes. And then Sunday, we're going to do a very special Christmas Eve edition of the Play Like a Jet pod. Well, I should say not Play Like a Jet, but the post-game podcast, which I guess on iTunes is under the Play Like a Jet label, but it's a special, it's a different entity.
You're running a little scam there, aren't you? You're boosting your lessons. Oh, I see how it is.
Well, you can talk to Joe about that one. That was his suggestion, that we bunch it all together. But I think that we're going to have a lot of fun because I know that everybody's celebrating Christmas Eve, including me. So we're going to have some nice food and watch the Jets game, and then afterwards a little bit of audio therapy, and I'm going to use it as an excuse. I love my family and everything, but I'm going to use it as an excuse to get away from them for a few minutes and just be by myself. I said, hey, guys, listen, I love Christmas and everything. I got to do this podcast. It's my job. What can I tell you? So we'll escape, and then Kyle and I will do it. And Ben, like I said, you're welcome to come on. You guys can work that out as far as whether Ben's coming on with me by himself or Ben and Kyle will be on at the same time.
And Kyle and I are going to bring the Jet Take to Play Like a Jet. We're doing this.
All right. Well, then that part is settled. Also, there's nothing 100% confirmed yet, but we may have another member of the TOJ staff stepping in for a few minutes to join us as well. So we'll see how that plays out, but it's going to be a fun time. And if you're somebody that's going to be looking for some extra Jets content on Christmas Eve, a lot of these podcasts will take off. They won't do a show Christmas week or New Year's week. That's not the case with us. In fact, we're going to have the post-game podcast on New Year's Eve as well. Already talk of a special guest joining us for that one. But, the way I always like to do it is I never announce anything in advance because people tend to have schedule conflicts and stuff. So either way, we'll have some fun post-game podcasts for you the next 2 weeks. And then after that, working on a special project to take the place of the post-game podcast after the season ends. I'll have more info on that over the next few weeks. But, guys, as always, it's been a lot of fun. Appreciate you putting up with my old man crotchety takes as always. And please, I implore you guys, don't kill each other, at least not yet, because we've got a Christmas Eve recording to attend to. And it would really be a shame if one or both of you were maimed and in the hospital or something because you couldn't keep each other from killing each other. I don't want that on my hands.
I just can't keep my hands off Ben, honestly.
Okay, all right, Kyle. Well, we're already organizing Bless vs. Fahey 2018.
Yep.
Royal Rumble. Kyle and I are going to fight.
Ben apparently doesn't want me as his trainer, so.
No, I said you could be, but Kyle already claimed you. You're in Kyle's corner.
Do you know Ben,
what?
Nobody's in your corner, first of all.
Okay, fine. I'll beat you up with nobody in my corner, Kyle. Let's go right now.
I'm rich in friends. You can be rich in...
Hang on. I got to do this for starters. Just tail of the tape, guys. Let's do this. Height and weight. What do we got? What are we looking at here?
All right. I'm built like Robbie Anderson, 5'10", 130. Kyle, what are you sitting at?
I'm up to 5'8". Shout out to puberty, and I'm 135.
Oh, there you go. Fair fight.
This is a fair
Same
fight.
weight class.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right, let's do it.
I love it.
For this. I'm here for this. I'm gonna hit the gym. I'm gonna pump some iron. Give me till the summer.
You already have a personal trainer. What do you mean?
He's not a personal trainer, but okay.
Yes,
Kyle, I'm gonna come. Are you coming to me or am I going to you?
I say we do this.
Go up to Syracuse in the fall, Kyle. Visit, and we'll do it there.
Poorly. You phrased that so poorly.
Here's what I'm thinking. Why don't we do this? Let's do this at an outdoor venue in Florida because you know that it'll be nice out. We can get a crowd assembled.
Heat stroke.
We can do a live broadcast on TOJ. I'll announce it with Dalton.
Live stream? Okay, I'm down.
We'll do a live stream, and we'll get some sponsorships and some pledges for charity. How about that? Why don't we do something like that?
I'll try to convince.
Years are worth enough. I will not give anything.
I'll try to convince them that'll be my graduation gift is to fly to Florida to beat the crap out of some 16-year-old. That'll be my graduation gift.
What are the rules of this? Are we doing this boxing rules, MMA rules?
I think
what are we doing?
boxing is probably the best, but if we're going real fighting, then I don't know who's getting out of here alive. Boxing at least ensures that nobody dies while we're fighting, but I never know.
I think
there are guys that have died in the ring, though. So
yeah, but those guys aren't Kyle Fahey or Ben Blessington. So
yeah, that's true. Very true. That's quite the spin zone. I think it depends on Ben's reach, because
I have really, really long arms. So.
Yeah, my arms aren't long. I have long legs.
I have like
long
super
arms.
long. Like I look like an orangutan. Like, so
you
yeah. I
like
guess boxing would be in my favor because I could just stand far enough away from you and hit you. Okay, we're gonna do this. We'll organize it. It'll happen. It's gonna happen in the life of TJT. We'll live stream it. It's going to be a big thing. All right, but Bless vs. Fahey 2018.
The winner becomes the almighty #1 host for all eternity.
Yeah, I think we have to come up with some prizes here. We're going to organize this, Kyle. I think it'll be boxing because if we actually fight, I feel like we might kill each other. So we'll do boxing unless you're worried about.
By the way, Ben, you realize you get arrested after this, right? Just letting you know.
Why?
Because you're 18 and I'm a minor.
Oh my God. Okay, Bless vs. Fahey 2019.
You're dumb if you don't think I have a plan B, like, if I lose, like, because there's always the possibility. Like, you're dumb if I don't think I have a plan B.
Okay, fine. Bless vs. Fahey 2019. Let's go. All right. Okay. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. I guess you can stay on if you want us to record that thing. We're just going to end the show right now.
Well, I mean, if you guys are going to be on the show on Sunday anyway, then you don't have to record it.
Okay.
It's mostly just a Merry Christmas greeting I was thinking that everybody would do. But if you guys are going to be on where it was outward. I'm not getting into this Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays stuff. You can say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you prefer. I always say Merry Christmas because, let's be honest, that's the holiday that everybody's really referring to when they say Happy Holidays. So, either way.
Good point. Get a lot of heat for this.
No, I just mean, and I don't want to get into it too deeply.
We've already been called racist, so let's just.
Yeah, no, I just mean that if you.
Racist,
yeah, I just mean that if you. Yeah, I just mean that if you talk to because if you talk to Jewish people, they will tell you that Hanukkah is not really that big of a holiday, and that it got elevated because of Christmas. That's all I'm really saying, and that's not a controversial thing, so nobody's going to be upset about that.
All right. Well, we'll just play it safe and just refrain from offending anybody. But I think you're probably right. But okay. I think. Yeah. Okay. We'll record that thing on Sunday though, Scott. I'll make it on. Hopefully, it's at least a fun game, so it's not like a 31-0 game we have to talk about.
Oh God, yeah.
That'll be fun. Anyways,
I'll be eating a lot of ham to drown my sorrows. But boys, look forward to talking to you on Sunday. And I will say this again, I'm sure, on Sunday. But Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kyle drinking Grandma's eggnog and all that. And I will talk to you gentlemen on Sunday. A pleasure as always.
Scott, we really enjoy it when you call in. I think the Jet Take is just better when you're on. So we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for calling. And everybody, make sure to check out his show, Play Like a Jet, on iTunes.
Thanks, Ben. And by the way, that check that I promised you, it's on the way. So.
See you, Scott.
Inside joke.
Bye, guys.
I almost dropped Kyle. I accidentally almost dropped Kyle. Kyle's still here. Okay. All right. I guess that's where we'll end it. Last thing, Kyle. I know we spent the last 10 minutes talking about his podcast and then us fighting. It's going to happen, though, Kyle. So does that mean I have to do it spring break then?
Wait, what?
Well, if I do it spring break, we'll both be 17. Or I'll be 17, you'll be 16. I think if we're both consenting, if you're 17 and I'm 18, we both sign papers. I mean, I'm serious about this, Kyle. We're going to box for charity.
They would have no legal backing, but you're dumb if you don't think I have a plan B.
It's a sporting event. I'm going to make you sign waivers.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get the waivers and you somehow don't end up in cuffs, sure.
Oh, my God.
I said I will settle for your mother's tears. It doesn't necessarily mean I have to wipe the floor with you. I could ruin your life.
All right. All right, Kyle. I think that's where we're going to end it. Last little
This
was
a weird episode.
I enjoyed this episode. I think it's weird because it's Friday morning. I enjoyed the episode, but it's Friday morning for me, so it's a little weird.
Feels like summer.
You're uploading.
To do this
prediction? It's your week, though.
Ben, literally, I have the screenshot of you. I'm going to tweet it before anybody else gets this.
All right. Wait, did I? Okay, if I said it, I'll upload, then I'll upload. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is your week, though. but I'll do.
Yeah, but we were supposed to do it Wednesday night.
I was not available.
You flaked.
So I didn't. Yes, I guess so. I was shopping, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my god, I have a podcast. I couldn't.
If that's not like your first thought when you wake up in the morning, you're not committed. Just saying. All right, final predictions for the game. Not San Fran. Damn it. Not San Diego either. The Los Angeles Chargers. 36. Jets 16.
Yeah, I think the Chargers are going to win this one. They're 7-7. They're fighting for their playoff lives here. They got to win.
Phil Rivers back against the wall, baby. That's
Tennessee's not looking too good though. So if Tennessee, Baltimore, and Chargers are all kind of in the same boat here. The last
the
two
Bills
that
are going to make the playoffs, and I'm going to have to
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. The Bills are also 8-6. They're just the 5th seed. So yeah, Bills, Tennessee, Baltimore, Chargers. If they all lose and the Chargers win, then then they'll all be tied with the same record. It'll be fun. Part of me, I always like to cheer for underdog. So part of me would love to cheer for the Bills to just make the playoffs. But then it's I love having that over the Bills that they haven't made the playoffs in, what has it been, 17 years, something like that.
Yeah.
More than that. It's been more than 7. I don't know. It's been a while.
No, it's been 17 years.
Okay, 17 years. So, I kind of don't want the Bills to make it, so I guess I'll cheer for them to lose these next two. Yeah, all right, I guess that's where we'll end it. My prediction, I think the Chargers are going to win it. They're fighting for their playoff lives here. So I'll probably say it is a home game, though, and as Scott pointed out, the Chargers do have to travel east. I feel like traveling east would be harder, right, from a West Coast team, because I know we don't ever think about that, but Kyle, think about it. They're playing a game in their body clocks at 10 a.m. So, they're getting up. It'll feel like it's 5 a.m. when they're getting up.
But most of those guys are from the East Coast, so they're used to it.
I don't think you can just say that as a blanket statement.
I just did, because I would say most of the world, at least people playing in the NFL, Americans, are from the East Coast. Are you kidding me?
Ever heard of California?
Yeah, I've ever heard of Florida. Texas. I think Texas
is not East Coast.
Time.
Texas is
it's
Central.
Yeah,
or Mountain. Okay.
And then there's New York, stuff like that.
It doesn't matter where you're from. Your body just adjusts after 2 days there. So, you ever heard of jet lag?
Easy to go back. Yeah, it's every week. You gotta watch the game.
Okay. Anyways, I think the Chargers will win. 2-score game. I'll say 28-13. I don't know. Touchdown, 2 field goals. All right, that's what we'll do. That's what we'll end it. As always, you can listen to our show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, iHeartRadio. We're really all over the place. The Jet Take, search us up. Follow us on Twitter at The Jet Take. That's the best place to keep up with us. I tweet daily there. Kyle, once a year. Anyways,
I already
have
a tweet saved in drafts, so screw you.
You tweet saved in drafts?
Nope, never mind. It's gone.
Well, I can't see your draft. Okay, anyways. Yeah, all right. Let's. I guess we'll end it there. Kyle, make sure you get the ending soundbite ready, since I can't access the broadcaster for some reason past 2 weeks. Yeah, I'll give you some time. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. You guys are the best listeners. Our show is doing pretty well recently. We've been back on the uploading every week train.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for listening. We're expecting some interviews this off season. We got We went through a stretch there in August and July where we were getting really interviews every week, and that was a great time because there was not much going on. But once training camp starts, then it's harder. Once the season starts, even harder. So off season, summer, terrific times to get former players, especially current players. We have a few that we've been talking to that we think we're going to bring you guys. So expect some more interviews this off season of the Jet Take. Again, thank you guys for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, follow, write a review, whatever it is to support the podcast. Thank you. Everything is appreciated. We'll talk to you guys next Wednesday, hopefully after a Jets loss.
Yeah. Pat's bandwagon.